Having trouble sleeping? Well, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the webinar, Getting Through the Night, Dr. Flywell's top tips for restful sleep.
I was scrolling through Facebook recently and was struck by how many people are having trouble sleeping, either by their own admission, remarking on their recurrent insomnia, or just posting in the early hours of the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's no surprise, really. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and so we're nervous about our health, about the health of our loved ones, the economy, our jobs. It's anxiety-provoking, and that negatively impacts sleep. I'm Dr. Nancy Flywell, and my specialty is preventive and lifestyle medicine, which means that I work with my patients on their nutrition, their exercise, stress management, and of course, getting good quality sleep. So for the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about sleep, and I'm going to share with you my 12 highly effective tips for getting a good night's sleep, even during these uncertain times. So let's get started.
Although there is a range, most people require 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. But unfortunately, at least 30% of adults are sleep deprived, and with the current COVID-19 situation, that number is likely much higher. So what can you do to get a good night's sleep? Well, the following are my 12 tips for restful sleep. Good sleep hygiene is key, and that brings us to tip number 1. Go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning. Many of us are working from home right now, and the natural inclination is to disregard our normal routines. I strongly advise against doing this, particularly when it comes to your waking and sleeping time. It's important to stick to your normal routine to maintain your body's normal rhythms, so those nightly reparative processes do not get disrupted. The same rules apply for the weekend. For optimal health and to encourage sound sleep, stick to a regular wake and sleep time 7 days a week. Our bodies function best when they're on a schedule. Tip number 2, limit caffeine. Some people can drink coffee right up until they go to bed and still sleep soundly. Most of us cannot do that. In fact, many people are slow caffeine metabolizers, meaning that it takes many hours for them to break down caffeine so it no longer acts as a stimulant in their body. For these people, and you may be one of them, coffee at lunch can actually cause you to remain awake at bedtime. So if you think this is you, try weaning off that afternoon coffee and see what happens. Tip number 3, limit alcohol. Alcohol disrupts sleep. People often fall asleep following consumption of alcoholic beverages, but their sleep quality is poor. Alcohol disrupts REM sleep, leading to daytime drowsiness and poor concentration the next day. And tip number 4, limit fluid before going to bed. Simply, the less fluid you drink before you go to bed means fewer trips to the bathroom. It's simple cause and effect on that one. Exercise and activity are important to encourage sleep, especially now that so many of us are home. If your body's not tired, sleep will be harder to come by. So, tip number 5, get outside at least half an hour a day. You can be in the shade as long as daylight is around you. The light tells your body it's daytime and should be awake. Tip number 6, exercise vigorously early in the morning so you're not too revved up at night, and then do gentler exercise like walking and stretching in the evening. The recommendations on this slide are key, especially during stressful times, and particularly for those of you having a hard time getting to sleep. So on this slide, you'll find tips number 7, 8, and 9. So tip number 7, people often ruminate about things they are concerned about once in bed. I recommend that you take those items out of your head by making a list, write it down, and then force yourself to forget about it. The list will be there in the morning. Tip number 8, the bed is not your desk. Use your kitchen table, your sofa, even the floor, but not your bed. The bed is for sleep and sex only. And then finally, tip number 9 on this slide, do not stay in bed if you have insomnia. Give yourself a time limit, say 30 minutes, and if you're lying awake, get up and read. Don't go on your screen, but actually read a book or a magazine. The idea is to stop the anxiety-provoking thoughts keeping you awake while in bed. Eventually, you'll become so tired that in spite of yourself, you will fall asleep. Tip number 10, consider this pre-slumber ritual to prepare your body and mind for restful sleep. 2 hours before bedtime, dim the lights of your living space and shut down blue screens. We'll talk about blue screens on the next slide. Consider drawing yourself a warm bath and using some aromatherapy in the form of candles or bath oils. Do some gentle stretching, maybe spray some lavender on your pillow, some soft music or white noise, and do some deep breathing. Deep breathing is very relaxing both from a physiologic and a psychologic standpoint. So I encourage people to do deep breathing throughout the day to lower anxiety, but particularly before you go to bed at night. A few words about melatonin, also known as the hormone of darkness. I mentioned earlier that light tells your body it's daytime and that you should be awake. Light does this by suppressing melatonin, and melatonin is the hormone of sleep. It increases as your bedtime approaches, and as the light increases in the morning, your melatonin levels decline. Other things besides sunlight, like your computer screen and blue lights, think the daytime sky, can suppress melatonin, and you want your levels to be high. So tip number 11, avoid computer screens a few hours before sleep. What else can you do to keep your melatonin levels elevated through the night so you stay asleep? Well, this slide is going to contain tips 12 as well as 12A, B, and C. So first of all, if you use a digital clock, make sure that those numbers are red, not blue, so that when you roll over and look at the clock, it doesn't prematurely trick your brain into lowering melatonin release. Make sure that your bedroom is as dark as possible, that you keep the temperature nice and cool, and that it is quiet. If your environment has some noise, consider using a white noise machine or earplugs. Now, what if your sleep hygiene strategies are not working?
Fact is, sleep is not a one-size-fits-all situation. Some people are just great sleepers and have no issues falling or remaining asleep. They can be on their computer 1 minute and in bed sound asleep the next. These people are probably not listening to this webinar. If you are faithfully implementing these sleep hygiene strategies, they will probably work for you, but there still will be some people who just continue to struggle. For those people, we can take intervention to the next level.
That next level consists of cognitive behavioral therapy and pharmaceutical intervention. Cognitive behavioral therapy addresses sleep issues from several directions. In addition to sleep hygiene education, CBT corrects inaccurate beliefs about sleep. For example, there's circular thinking, where you fear that you won't be able to function the next day if you don't get a good night's sleep. That causes anxiety, and then you end up with a poor night's sleep. CBT also works to reassociate the bed for sleep and sex only, and it provides relaxation training tools. A good cognitive behavioral therapist can be incredibly helpful in overcoming insomnia. Pharmaceutical intervention is beyond the scope of my practice as well as this talk, but I do want to say a few words about the topic. If you decide to try medical intervention, please speak with your healthcare provider. Medications have side effects, and those that enhance sleep can cause many problems, such as daytime drowsiness. Therefore, use the lowest effective dose, use it only when necessary, and limit the use to no more than 2 to 4 weeks if possible. Never mix with alcohol, and if you're pregnant or have sleep apnea, sleeping pills are contraindicated. In summary, sleep is a basic biological need. It's essential for overall health and quality of life, and we need to practice good sleep hygiene for good quality sleep. But if you experience ongoing sleep disturbances despite putting sleep hygiene practices in place, then consider evaluation and intervention from a sleep specialist.
I hope the information included in this webinar is both new and useful for you. If you found the webinar informative, please consider sharing with friends and family. A bonus quick reference handout with these 12 sleep tips will be sent to you as a thank you for sharing. Thanks for joining me. I'm wishing you restful sleep with pleasant dreams.